from a period whereby it's a fusion of various cultures, Western and African. In the context of Onobrakpeya, he's demonstrating a particular rallying cry of the Zaria School of Art, of which he is one of the founding figures. And their concept, as described by Uche Okeke, one of their main figures, one of their main theories, is that of natural synthesis, whereby you synthesize the Western and the African to create something original.
The African art has graduated into what you might call the post-African art. So what you see there, the statement I'm making is that is a post-African art. In other words, it still does the type of thing that the old art does, but it does more than that. It reflects the life that we live now, not the life that our forefathers and grandfathers live. So I'm trying to say that there is a post-African art. Most people don't think that there's something like that, but there's post-African art. And what you see there is a transition between the old art and the new art, the contemporary art. So the contemporary art is really, in the country, in Africa, is a post-African art. You see the form. The form itself looks like a form of a guitar, like a form of a guitar. Yeah. It's just that the strings this time now are poles. Right. What I'm trying to, if you look at the poles, you'll find at the end you have some kind of decorations there. Take one pole apart, and you see that it's like a scepter. No, so what this guitar is doing is trying to tell stories of some particular individuals who have achieved a lot. Achieved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 important things in their life. So the guitars are emblem of achievements. In our country here, we are achievement-oriented society. And every individual, just look at every individual. There is something about their life. There's something they have achieved. And these things can come out in forms like staffs like this that can be put in a place where they'll be remembered. Ladipo market is like one Nigeria, because you see every ethnic group, every ethnic group there. It's there, and life spills around. There are all kinds of experiences. People are preaching on one hand, they are dancing on the other hand, and sometimes they are fighting, and then they are buying things. And then important people have their cars by the side of the road and they are repairing it. So what you see in the Ladipo market area is a very interesting form of art.
If you're familiar with Prof's works, he's a very traditional person. He's very bent towards his culture, and it's really evident in his works.
For me, Bruce is a master, and this exhibition is further affirmation and confirmation of the talent that he has come to represent, the pride of Africa. Because when you see a mind that can put from trash such beautiful artworks, then we can only just increase our admiration for him and wish him many more years in this field of making us.
The younger ones, how are you, what are you doing, to bring up young people along this line so that, when you're not here, when you're no longer around, your legacies are maintained, there are people to carry on where from where you would have left off?
Thank you for that question. I answered that question a long time ago by instituting a foundation and creating an informal education setup where I train young artists. But beside that, I have young artists working with me, learning and following my footsteps and so on. And I have people now who think the way I think and can carry on whenever I stop.
Well, I didn't know on time because I only knew that she found it difficult to read, and even when she started school, although I thought I was part of the reasons why she could not catch up with her mates, because I was actually I move around a lot. So when I moved, she has to change school. So I was thinking maybe that was the problem. But I actually found out later that even when I got her good teachers, the normal set of school teachers, I found out that she still finds it difficult. She's actually brilliant, very, very brilliant. But when it comes to book, she finds it difficult to read.
My name is Mrs. Uchenna Ahanotu, the director of Nene Special Education Center I'm an educational psychologist, currently pursuing my doctorate degree in educational psychology from Imo State University. My dream had been always to help students to excel in their academics. So my dream had always been for gifted students. But then I now started coming across children with learning disabilities, and I found out that they were not getting the support they need. So I was helping them in my little way, one-on-one, until it now came to my doorpost. I got reports from the school that my daughter would be repeating class, primary 1. I was like, why? And they said she's not meeting up. This is a girl that is normally intelligent. You know she knows everything, but they said she couldn't read. So as an educational psychologist, I now had to go back to my books because I had packed my books. I went back to my books to study, and now found out that there is something called dyslexia, and not just dyslexia, there were other neurological disorders. There was autism, there was ADHD, there was all those cerebral palsy. All of them are linked together. So that was how I started focusing on children with learning disabilities. I was going from school to help them, but then 2 times a week, 2 hours a day is not enough. It wasn't giving us the results we wanted. So we now had to open the center. And I told the parents, if you want an intensive program for your child, you could enroll him or her here. When she has developed to a certain stage, she can now go back to mainstream school. That was how Learning Center started.
High five. A sound. B sound. C sound.
The thing is, when a child is not performing well in school, and you know you have tried all you can, you've given the necessary intervention, lesson teacher, good books and all that, and she's still performing low, I think it's time to diagnose her. As a psychologist, we diagnose, when a child comes to our center, we diagnose the child first to know the specific area of challenge. And that's why we're able to now diagnose, say this is dyslexia, this is dyscalculia, this is ADHD, this is autism. It can become comorbid with speech delay, whatever it is. So diagnosis is what we do first. When we diagnose, we can now draw up an education plan for the child. All our children have their own education plan, because a child with dyslexia is not at the same pace with another child with dyslexia. So we do one-on-one therapy, we do one-on-one teaching for them, meeting them at their various points of need, and then they come up. So that's basically the strategy, identifying the specific disadvantage and then tackling it individually, not as a class. My staff and I, we go for professional training. We go for courses mainly online.
Okay, this is actually a timer. This is a timer we use for their section. So each section for a child, because of children with autism, most time they are diagnosed with ADHD, that's attention deficit hyperactive disorder. So it's difficult for you to treat them in a normal class and take a long time with them. So we time our sections with them. For each section for a child, we have 15 minutes. So I put on my timer for 15 minutes. So I know that at the end of 15 minutes, the child knows he's done. You see them standing up sometimes because they're like, just want to get up and leave. So it helps us to time them and get the best results.
Challenges. Well, sometimes I want them to, like, you're teaching the child something, no other child you can easily pick up, but you have to keep consistently going over it day by day and all, and it's like seeing as if you're not getting a result. Or when you're trying to keep kids with ADHD, getting them to sit still while you're teaching them, it's can be very, very tasking. And also sometimes they just don't want to learn. sometimes like that.
She has improved a lot compared to what she was then, because she was having low self-esteem, and then, but here they kind of, brought our confidence up. Our confidence level is a lot high, and even if you are not careful, you won't even know that she has that condition again. So I'm actually happy with my experience with Nene Special Center.
Well, it's been quite encouraging. It's been good. It's been a lovely experience. Jaden, my son, couldn't do some things not until he started with the speech school. He couldn't feed himself. He couldn't identify letters. He couldn't identify numbers, but his hearing was perfectly well, and he's still fine. He hears very, very well, but he couldn't identify some things. But right now, he can identify, he can make sounds, and the rest of them. So I'm impressed.
Before, she won't even try to pronounce, as in, if the word is difficult, she just jumps it to the next word. But now she's trying to, and then she has improved in her reading. She has improved in her self-esteem. She, I don't know, psychologically, she has improved.
We started last year, 2022, with the few students I had. So this year we plan to go more social media and then reach out to schools, primary schools in particular, to inform the headmistresses, the proprietors, that there is a diagnostic center where they can diagnose a child's learning challenge, because most of them are harbored in these schools, but the teachers are confused. They just think maybe the child doesn't want to read. So we want to tell them there's a center where they can diagnose the child's disability, and then we can also help them to tackle the challenge. So our aim is just the proprietors, and then through social media, we reach out to parents that are worried about their child's development.
I want to ask every parent that when you observe that kind of situation with your child, you should seek. Don't just assume, because some secular schools, they don't really look out for these conditions in children. They just assume that the child is poor or the child is dull. They don't have provision for that in most schools. So, and then such child will have low self-esteem, and it will look like they cannot do anything, or they look inferior to their peers.
Clap for yourself, clap for yourself.
As I said, we started exactly May last year. So this is just 1 year, and we have had a total of 12 kids, about 12, 13 kids. And some of them are still on now.
Well, I must say it has been an amazing one. It has really been amazing. I get to meet wonderful kids every day. Yes, I see them and I'm like, God, these kids are just wonderful, because the world might not see them in that way, but meeting them every day has been like a blessing to me. Being able to interact with kids, it has been great.
My advice to parents that they should find out and keep a close eye on their child. Try to find out about their disabilities earlier in life, so that it will reduce the amount of time that we have to teach them.
Early detection matters. If your child is delaying, just come and find out if it's disorder or delay. We will tell you. If it's delay, we'll just tell you to go. With time, he will talk. But if it's disorder, you have to start immediately to intervene to help the child. Please find a good learning environment for your child. Find a center that understands their challenge, and they'll be able to tackle their challenge with the right resources and with the right frame of mind. It's not a flogging issue. They need all the love and care they can get, and they also need the professional touch to get them out of where they are.
What we're having here today, the theme of the exhibition is wet in waste. That is, what are the wet you can get from waste product, that is coconut shell. So, and the reason why we are saying wet in waste is that we have so many processors around. We have people that use coconut for their products, like coconut oil, coconut candy, coconut flakes. The name has so many. But what do they do to the shell? Nothing. So if you eat coconut, the shells, you throw it off. But some of them, they use it for making fire, fueling their fire while cooking. But that can cause environmental pollution. So we are using this now to tell a story that, okay, instead of destroying the environment, why don't you get the wet that is involved? Instead of throwing it to block our drainages, why don't you turn it to a wet making machine? So that is just the short story behind the wet in waste. Aside from that, it is unique and nobody is using it for anything. When I started, I didn't see anybody that is doing anything like installations like this. In fact, when I Google online, what I saw were craft works, cups, key holders, and the rest of them. But I started doing this just to give myself a unique name from others. The response has been very, very good. Though initially when I started, people were like, what type of thing is this? They gave me so many names. Sometimes if I stretch my hand to greet some people, they will say, your hand is too tough, blah, blah, blah. But today now the rest is story. And initially the acceptance was not there. I was giving my souvenirs to people free of charge. But now I sell them at good prices. The funny thing about the Circle of Nigerian Coconut Artists is that we started in February. The dream just came, okay, why don't you bring these people that are doing coconut craft together? I have some of them who are my participants that I've trained over time during workshops. So, and some of them, they don't practice the craft again because the challenges are there for them. How do they sell their craft works? Who do they sell to? And the challenges of how do you cut, how do you remove the debris and the rest of them. So many challenges. But the basic one is if they produce it and they don't sell, they stop producing. So we are using this now to create a kind of platform for them so that they can showcase their work. You can see different stands here. You can see different tables with different type of artworks, even this. So they now have a platform where they can exhibit the works when visitors come around, they see. And with that, they will be encouraged to do more. So that is the story behind this. What we do is we'll cut the shelves. When you cut the shelves, you remove the debris, you sand it in and out and cut the shapes you want. Then, if you want to do stuff like this, you start joining them together with gum. You have handsaw, you have jigsaw, you have bandsaw, depending on the level at which you are. If you are just starting, you can't get a bandsaw because to buy a bandsaw now is expensive. So you can start with the hand hacksaw. Is going viral, and another thing is that we are taking it to the 5 divisions of Lagos State. After Badagry, we are going to other divisions. We have Ikorodu, we have Epe, we have mainland. So we are taking this show around there. So if we have the opportunity of showcasing it 10 days in other divisions, so we'll do, just to encourage the young ones around so that they can join us in removing debris from my environment and turning it to waste. To wet. Like this one, if you have seen Eyo before, this is that cap they put on. So I use this now to represent Eyo. Instead of putting the whole thing, it will be too big for me. So I just decided to work on the cap alone. So that is that about Eyo. And here we have Yeye Oge. This Yeye Oge, I don't know, I just love the work. Now, I use this to tell a story of a young lady. And generally, most of our ladies, they are the only one who has been questioning God, that why do you create me this way? The eyelashes are not enough, they want to add more. The lipsticks are not too clean as created by God, they want to add more, and they will embellish their hair with so many designs. So that is what I just use this one to represent, just epitome of love. Simple. The Last Supper that Jesus Christ had with his disciples. Now, I use these ones here to represent the disciples, and this is Jesus here. If you count, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are the disciples, and this is their table. And while eating your drink, you need a jug to fetch water from. You have that, you have the cup, and you have the fruit. Instead of putting amala and the rest, I decided to use just fruit. This is August meeting. Yes, now August meeting is popular among our friends from the East, whereby they have their colorful attire, uniform attire, and they celebrate themselves, the women mostly. So that's why I have about 3 women there with different gele and the rest. This one now, I titled it the National Summit. There's so many stories behind it. Now, at the center you have banana, and the objects surrounding it look like monkeys. So, yes, now, without much decoration, you see this is the mouth, this are the eyes for monkeys. Now, but I'm using this now to represent the Nigerian setting or the Africa setting, whereby we have delegates, people who will send them, okay, go and represent us. But they are not particular about the people that sent them. When they get to the zoo there, or when they get to that area whereby you have flowers, you have adorable things around them, they forget those of us who sent them. The only thing they are particular about is the national cake. So I use the banana here now to represent the national cake. So that is what all of them are after. They have adorable things. That's why I use leaves, just to represent things like flowers. So in the midst of flags, you know, you'll be happy, oh wow, you are surrounded with beautiful things. The next thing, they will have forgotten what we asked them to go and do for us, go and represent us, but no, the only thing is the national cake, which they rush after to get for their self and their self alone.
My experience as one of the artists is that we, in this part of our area here in Badagry, we that are involved in this kind of work is not well appreciated, in the sense that, you know, here this is our area. Coconut, Badagry is predominantly recognized with coconut. So, and as a result of that, while we are doing this thing, they do not see any value to it. So, like Jesus Christ, even though does not have value at his hometown. So that is the similar story that we are having towards this. But outside that, we are using this thing to promote our culture, to know that this craft can bring economical value for our teeming youth. This product, this work we have involved in, can bring a kind of job creation for people. Little do we know that craft work of this nature can transform this coconut craft, the coconut shell, from the waste product they used to know it for, to a valuable thing. Before, in this area, after extracting the oil is one of the valuable things extracted from the coconut. Then coconut completely is a valuable tree, but the shell is they throw it away, so, or they burn it. Nobody knows that it can be transformed to a valuable thing. So that is why we are involved. Now coconut is going to an extinction with the activities of other activities around, but engaging this shell in transforming it to a valuable things of this nature, so people can know that we can begin to use it even to better our life. It has more economical value, so if people engage themselves in doing it. I'm an indigenous of Ajido in this Badagry environment. Gone are those days, after extracting the coconut, you see a lot of heap of it. But when we now begin to censor our people that it can be transformed to this kind of ornament, so we gather, we have a collecting center. So if you have used your coconut, just gather it, we come, we pick them. And better still, we just, if you want to get maybe the one we use for the consumables, the one we can use for either cups, jugs, the one that we can use for consumption of either drink or food. Those ones we need a good quality of coconut. Those ones we go to farm to select better coconut. So, but those ones we can use for decoration of those ones, so we can pick shell. Those are the waste ones. We can use those ones and use those ones and transform it then to this type of ornament. The publicity, we thank God a little bit for the immediate past supervisor for tourism and education. Honorable Samson Onayo Akpata. He has been helpful in that regard by collaborating with us in sensitizing people. So we train the like-minded, those that have interest. We train them, and then we do our publicity. Like this event that is going on now, it is one of the first of its kind in this Badagry. It's just to publicize this and to create the awareness that something of this nature is ongoing. It has come and have come to stay. So we, the craftsmen, are highly involved in this, and we are ready to partner with whosoever that is willing to partner with us, even to give it more publications.
When I start coconut art, people look at it as a strange something, but later they now blend to it. And I've faced many people, although I'm into tourism too, when you are talking about tourism and art, it blends together, because if you travel to any area, you don't come back with souvenir, definitely you do not have anything to remind you about your visits. That's why I always work on coconut shell as souvenir. If it comes to Badagry, you must go with a coconut shell souvenir. Sincerely, if you said turning waste to wealth, it even adds to the value of the environmental listing, because it makes its cleanness, change the environment so that you not see anything dirty in the environment. And mostly from this coconut shell, we have brought up many people, and people are blending with it. I named this remembrance. It always tells you to remember that whenever you are doing in life, there is a time you will go and the footprints will be there. And you have to remember that you are not going to live forever. And you have to remember that nobody is going to stay with you in that grave. Whatever you are doing, forget about religion, forget about everything, but your humanity service matter a lot. That's why I name it Remember. These are brooch. You can see we have brooch of local government. These are Lagos local government, Ministry of Tourism. We have another brooch. This pendant, map of Africa. We have earrings, key holders, and you can see on this textile, what we have there is the button. We always use the coconut shell as button on textiles. Pen holder, and so on. And these are little takeaway items you can get from coconut. This cup, this coconut purse. You use it in different ways. You can keep your jewelries. You can use it as safe to keep your jewelries. For example, you buy something, you can put it inside. You can put it inside, you lock it, and you can use it for your decoration, for beach outing or anything like that. Use it. We have anything like this.
What is here is Wash Go International, actually. It's of international standard. It's unusual, unexpected, and I think this man needs to be celebrated more than what we are seeing. We know that the level of unemployment right now in Nigeria is really high, and if there was a way to get this skill to more youth, and especially with the advent of social media, I think there's so much that can be done with what is here. Yeah, will help this country as a whole. This is the kind of thing that I came here all the way from Ikorodu, and I'm sure if a lot more people knew about this, it will bring a lot more people here, and it will boost tourism here.
I was excited, like I did not believe that they can use coconut to do so many things like this, and it was beautiful. When I reach my school, I can tell them about it, that we saw many things, that the people that are not here, so that they will see, they can come here to look at it, and some people would like to join or do something like this. I can now see that coconut is very important in Badagry, that we can use it to do many things. And when I see it on the ground, I can pick some ones to do like the key holder. Me too, I can try. And I can encourage some people to look at it, that coconut shell can do many things, that we can use it to do jug in our house, and spoon, and the key holder, many things.
Sincerely, I will commend the organizer of this kind of show, and being for the first time, and the way they are able to organize the program. Before this time, I have to question them. I do question them that why are they using Badagry for the starting points, due to some challenges that we have to come down to this place. But upon everything, they said the symbol of this show is coconuts, and we are well known as a place that we produce coconut, granules and coconut a lot, and there is no need for them to showcase the first program in another place. And the main thing behind this event is for them to know the value and what the end product of coconut, what we can derive from it, so that it will not be wasteful, at least creating wealth out of nothing. Sincerely, I'm overwhelmed. Each artistic design, the kind of way that the organizer name each one, and the explanation to us, sincerely, that shows that the artist know what he's doing. Likewise, there is a lot of vision, there's a lot of profitable something for every individual. At a starting point, what they have over here can meet up international competition.
It's not anything that is new to me, because I've been with the artists for a very long time. It started from very awkward creation. I mean, very, very awkward background. You know, he started from nothing to something. So, you see, what I've seen, what I've learned, and that I want the youth to learn is focus in whatever you are doing, in whatever thing that you think this is good. There's no way you won't find, you won't encounter challenges. Challenges are natural, and they test your mettle as a man. If you want to succeed in life, you must face challenges. So he's been on this thing for more than a decade, and what I saw today is amazing. It's really, really amazing, and it's telling me that there's still more to explore in this community. Things that are insignificant, I will see as nothing. We can really make it something, and that was I've done. This is the identity of Badagry. When you go to Osun Osogbo, you see carving. But here, he has created an identity for Badagry. We need the government buying into this. He has a lot to offer in terms of all this. But the government has to come in to support him. There's still a lot that can be achieved, that can still be created out of this nothing that we are seeing as coconut shells. There's still a lot that he has proven that. There's still many things that can still be done, that can be achieved in terms of creativity. So, but he alone, and he's been struggling for more than a decade. That is he's been able to take it to this level is miracle. Honestly, it's miracle because he has been doing all alone. Okay, you can see what, for instance, I expected that before we, just ordinary citizens of the community, come here, we expect that other dignitaries will have come here to open it. So that encourages the artist. It inspires him that his effort is being recognized and acknowledged. But when you don't have things like that, sometimes you kill spirit. So we need government buying. We need the support. Apart from the government, the support of the community. Things like this today, we want the community to be here, everybody be here, all the VIPs, all the government, they should be here to recognize and acknowledge this work of creativity that has been displayed.
I am an engineer and I believe we can transform our cities into places that are healthy and fun to live in. More than half of us live in cities these days, and they are often crowded. Air is dirty and it's hard to find decent housing. But it doesn't have to be like that. Here is the future we can achieve. Our buses and trains run on clean renewable energy. Air pollution is no longer a matter of life and death, and it's much easier to walk and bike. Our buildings are resilient and energy efficient. They are made of green materials. And our cities are zero waste. We no longer send tons and tons of garbage to landfill or dump it in the oceans. For example, here in Nairobi, where I live, I have created a company that will turn plastic waste into plastic bricks for construction. There are many cool ways to build green. Take this house in Pittsburgh in the United States. Its super thick insulation means it needs 90% less energy for heating and air conditioning. In Singapore, concrete neighborhoods are being interlaced with green spaces, and that holds and filters water. Singapore has been called the Garden City. In Bogota, Colombia, you can find many green buildings and some days are car-free. We know we have to find better ways to manufacture steel and cement, and so we need to invest in research. And we have mapped out a route forward. It's the Paris Climate Agreement. Almost 200 countries have signed on to stop the global warming from rising above 1.5 degrees Celsius. And dozens of cities have pledged that all new buildings will be net zero carbon by 2030. We have the know-how to transform our cities. Let's do it. Please support us by posting your support for #ClimateAction.
It's arguably the most important slave trade era monument in Badagry. The point of no return is a huge draw for tourists visiting the coastal town. Most of the enslaved Africans or Nigerians who were traded during the transatlantic slave trade era were loaded onto ships from this port and taken to different parts of the world. For many tourists, the point of no return has some spiritual connection, and that is why it's a must-see for any tourist visiting Badagry. But the place is in total shambles and looks completely abandoned. Locals say the Lagos state government began rebuilding the monument some 8 years ago, but never completed it. And now it's been abandoned. The whole structure is rotting away and collapsing. Virtually all the smaller structures around the point of no return have collapsed. There is no inscription or write-up anywhere around telling the story of this important historic site. All this in a state that prides itself as a tourist destination.
It's a crying shame that this place is left like this. So imagine if tourists were to come here. There's just nothing, absolutely nothing to tell the story of this place. Nothing to show that this is the famous point of no return. It's just difficult to understand how we could abandon a monument as important as this in this manner.
It's quite very embarrassing looking at the way which the government, even though they've been advocating for tourism, on the need for us to invest in tourism, to encourage the citizens to participate and also encourage tourist activities. But the truth of the matter is that most of our tourist sites, they are not really strategically fine-tuned in a way to make it more attractive for tourists to come and spend time around. Well, I think this structure, it's more of like a white elephant project because it's a waste. Because you can see now it's dilapidated, and I don't think they are going to continue with the construction of this structure. And this structure, I believe before the commencement of this structure, they should have come up with their plans to see how it's going to benefit and enhance and boost tourism within this community. But maybe they did not do their groundwork very well, so they had to stop it in the long run. It really breaks my heart because this is millions of naira wasted that possibly could have been ventured into another aspect of the tourism. But this is just like millions wasted, and there's no way they can retrieve this lost funds. And people coming down here to catch fun, and they tend to feel discouraged and embarrassed by the sight of this, most especially
foreign nationals coming there to come and relax or maybe to come for their research purposes, they're going to see Nigeria as a country that we are not serious.
Yards away from the point of no return, another abandoned project by the Lagos state government. Locals say this was supposed to be a guest chalet started during the governorship of Babatunde Fashola, but long abandoned. Even this paved road leading to the point of no return has not been completed. Most part of it is yet to be paved. Even in its terrible state, tourists still flock to the point of no return, but they often leave disappointed.
When I was in secondary school then, we came for an excursion here, but the place we went to was 4-story building, and then we were not opportune to come here because they were like, okay, we can't come here since we were young then. But coming now, at least, that was 2014, and this is 2024, let me say that's 10 years ago. So coming here now, and I was like, okay, land of no return, let me come and let me see how it looks like. But on getting to this place, it's very disappointing because there is no evidence, that there is nothing to show that, okay, this is an evidence to show that this is a land of no return. And even this building, I'm just guessing that maybe that is where the colonial master stays then, where they select the slaves and all those things. But I don't know, because there is no one to tell us the history, and it's very disappointing that they just let it go. Like, let me say, it's a waste. Anybody can come here and claim it as anything.
If this monument continues to rot away like it is at the moment, then it's only a matter of time before the point of no return completely disappears from this very spot.
Ayetoro community is a theocratic communist setting funded by a group of believers known as the Apostles in 1947. Ayetoro community in its heydays has the largest per capita income in the whole of West Africa. Initially, Ayetoro community was 15 to 20 kilometer landmass away from the sea. But as it stands now, more than 10 kilometers of the total landmass has gone into the sea. And this frequent surge is attributed to emission from multinational oil companies off the coasts of our land, not minding the environmental challenges and disasters.
This is a community established in one of the Nigeria bases. A lot of people you see in the offshore were trained here, both mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, and nautical engineer were trained in this bush. Yes, this bush, I call this place bush. And this is the Shepherd Technical Workshop approved by the IWD, which is now Minister of Transport. IWD means the Inland Waterway Department. That is the colonial time.
This place is like small London. So, and our primary occupation here is fishing. You can see now, everything now has been eroded. Some of our fishermen, they have went to other places to find for their source of livelihood.
It's just a sudden that we have been experiencing corruption coming every day by day. And since that time, we have been making effort to the federal government because we are law-abiding citizens. We believe that we cannot engage ourselves in a radical ways because we believe that by protesting, writing letters, federal government can come to our aid. By the videos, a lot of things we have been doing since we have expressing the Sikh church.
I'm shooting.
That area, that is the iconic worship center. Yeah, that wood. That is the iconic worship center. Over there, we have the community service center here, over there. Then at the same time, the major streets where other minor streets were linked to has been permanently submerged by the ocean surge.
I'm seriously worried. I'm worried because this recurrency surge is affecting us in virtually all human aspects of our life. Social life has been collapsed, economic-wise has been collapsed, health-wise, nothing to sing and dance home about. Even our religious activities, our life, religious life, has been collapsed totally. Because Ayeto community is a religious setting. The church moved here. We have not just come here to trade or to do other activities. The church is the community is the church. So every aspect of our life has been totally, damaged by this current, recurring sea surge happening in Ayeto. And over 20 years, we've been into this. People have lost, several properties worth millions. Buildings has collapsed. Over 500 to 600 to 700 buildings have been washed away. Our industrial power has been collapsed. Ayeto community is known to be a self-developed community on its own, without any intervention of the federal government or the state government over the years. Yet we kept on going. If by now the ocean surge, as a result of the oil exploration that is going on in our offshore, is destroying our land. Up till now, we cannot see the hand of the government coming to help and to rescue us. It is so sad, and that's why I'm worried.
Ṣé ẹ bá wo gbogbo ibi ilé ló kún bẹ̀, gbogbo ilé yẹn ni òkun ti parẹ́ pátápátá. Bó dẹ̀ ṣe ń wó ilé yẹn ló ń wó gbogbo àwọn ohun àlùmọ́nì wa, àwọn ohun tí a ní, ilé, ẹrù wa, ìmí gan tó bá ń wo báyìí tí a bá tètè dìsámúra àti gbà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀, ó gbé gbogbo ẹ̀ lọ nìyẹn.
Fund the trip of those guys. Trip of those guys.
This thing is excruciating, it is extreme. In fact, every blessed day, people used to die because of the thinking that the community that was founded at their present has been eroded. So it is extreme, it is serious, it is harrowing.
My father's house happened to be the extreme house before the Atlantic Ocean. We lost it 2017. 2007, that was when we lost it. It's highly devastating. Even the one that belonged to my grandmother, we lost it. That was along primary school road. We lost it too. So I've been affected. I'm highly devastated. Now I'm a tenant in my hometown. Imagine how is it? Highly devastating. We need support of the entire world to save this community. Ayeto community is a community that must not go into extinction. It's a very serious situation.
So the community is divided into two, the up and the down. So the up is reserved for the male. Why do you do that? Because they want them to access the sea quickly because of the occupation they engage in. Then the downside is reserved for the female, so that they can drive their fishes, because the Atlantic breeze is coming from the up, so that the smoke will not disturb the community from up. That was why they situated the downside for the women, so that their kitchen can be downside. So you have Bale Abejoye, Korodun Aneroye, Adedoyin Alebiosun Bishop, Arojolu. Then, so after Arojolu, you have the information house or the glass house, as we used to call it.
So where's the glass house now?
It's gone already.
It's submerged already.
That is where all the information regarding the Aito community, people coming just like you came now. All the information you buy your trip, what you are going to do, when you are going to, you go back. So it will be documented before you go into the community. That was how it was done then. Then the city hall or civil center, there too, all of them have gone. After the city hall, you have Ojomo Street is gone too. So behind Ojomo, you have the church building, the church street and the church building is gone already.
And that church is very important.
Very important. Community. That is where they situated that night of January 12, 1947. They situated when they came in. Now we have Akinjoye, we have Ajayi. Then in Ajayi Street, you have the first Ogeloyinbo Palace built with wood. So that one is gone too. We have the Olowojai. Then after Olowojai, you have the shoe making industry.
There used to be a
shoemaking industry. One of the industry, a small scale industry. Then behind the shoemaking industry, you have the clothing making industry too. So that one too is gone. So we have after Olowojai, behind it is the shoemaking and the clothing making. We have Olowo Topa Oyinbo. We have Omogbenwa. Then after Omogbenwa, we have the carpentry workshop. So the carpentry workshop too is currently threatened. Half of it is gone into into the sea. And then you have Tobase. Then you have, after the Tobase street there, you have a mini supermarket. There's a mini supermarket there. So after the mini supermarket is where you have Oyetomi Street. So from the upside,
where's the mini supermarket?
This is just behind the what's it called?
But it's still there.
We can still find it there. So after the what's called the mini supermarket, you have Oyetomi Street. So from the main side now, from the main side, those the main streets, Oyetomi Street is the only surviving street you can find up.
And it's been threatened.
It's threatened. In almost we only have just 2 buildings.
That is where my mother's father's house was situated, and it has been eroded.
Just 2 houses.
And your fear now is that this side, where the female side might be affected. Yes. So it's like everybody has moved to this side now.
Yes. So most of the male now, they are actually residing with their wives.
With their wives.
Their wives. So the Oyetomi is the only one that you see. Then from the downside where you have the
and this broad street is no longer existing.
It's gone completely. It's gone completely. Where you can have the broad street, the beauty of the broad street now, it's around the Block Palace. That's where you can have the beauty of the broad street.
Okay.
How it looks like.
Tí ẹ bá wo ọ̀hún yẹn chọ́ọ̀chì wa gangan the main church táwọn baba ńlá wa kọ́ ó ti wo àtúnkọ́ mi ó tún wo.
The church is where all the inhabitants of this land we gather to worship God, because that was the revelation our forefathers received. This place is a Christian utopian religious community for the service of God.
It has actually changed the landscape totally. Let me put it that way. Why do I say so? It's because when you look at the land mass, as at when our founding fathers came here, 1947, it is about 20 or 10, 15 kilometers to the shore. So people had to trek. I think Dr. Noge wrote a book about Aito community. That the only challenges that the fishermen, because Aito is known for fishing, the only challenges that they are having, it is the accessibility to the shore. Too. That is as at that time, and it's been a long time. So it has actually changed the landscape, and we are worried about it.
This is the Community Technical College here we are. Now, you can see now, these are debris, has been ravaged by the sea surge. Now, that place, that is the bakery that we are using before. This last month, the sea surge has ravaged this place and we've relocated to another place. So it is serious. That is the powerhouse generating plant. It has been affected, greatly affected by those sea surge. We also have dockyard over there where marine boats were built in the past. That place has been submerged as well. So nothing to write home about in the community again. All our social, cultural activities has gone. The secondary schools has been relocated for about 3 consecutive times now. Nothing again.
If urgent intervention is not coming any moment from now, the community will no longer in existence because 2/3 of the community has gone already.
My fears is that if something reasonable, prompt action is not taken on the part of government to salvage this land, perhaps we might. We don't pray for such anyway. The community might go into extinction. We don't want that because Ayeto community has helped the federal government, even the West Africa, in terms of marine. Because when Ayeto was having a technical school, the Ayeto community has trained experts in marine engineering, in nautical engineering, and they are serving all the multinational companies that we can see in our offshore. Ayeto community has built the largest fishing boat in the history of Nigeria and West Africa. It was built here by the local carpenter, and those people that even built those beauty boats, they were still alive. Check Fishing News International, is there.
If prompt and urgent action is not taken within, let me say, within a space of 2 months, where we stand here will no longer be. So, and that is why we are appealing to the federal government as a matter of urgency and exigency to please come to our rescue, so that Ayetoro is a historic community, so that it will not become a thing of history. That is our appealing. We are appealing to the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Dito Sopadek, Ondo State Oil Producing Area Development Commission, to please come to our rescue, so that this glorious community will not become a thing of history.
So we are begging the federal government, we are begging the international community, we are begging NDDC, we are begging all relevant agencies to please come to our aid.
Apá wa ò ká o, kàn jọ kàn má jẹ́ kó kùn yìí kó gbé wa lọ, gbogbo ilé ibi iṣẹ́ wa, gbogbo ilé ìsìn tá ń pè chọ́ọ̀chì, gbogbo ẹ̀ ló ti wó.
I'm now appealing to the state government, federal government, and the world to give what you call immediate action on this community. If you were here about 7 years, about 20 years back, if we tell you the extension of this place, you can't believe.
Hello and welcome. Now, it's been more like 1 week, one trouble for the Labour Party as its leadership crisis continues to worsen. This time, it's more like fire for fire from both factions. So what happened? Well, the faction of the embattled national chairman of the party, Julius Abure, recently met and slammed an indefinite suspension on 6 prominent members of the party, including Abia State Governor Alex Oti, Senators Darlington Nwokocha and Ireti Kingibe, over alleged anti-party activities. Now, orders suspended are House of Representative members Victor Afam Ogene, Amobi Oga, and Sheyi Shoumi. The party's National Executive Council said the decision followed the recommendations of a 5-man disciplinary committee set up on May 2nd, 2025 to probe allegations of anti-party conduct. It also addressed the omission of Nenadi Usman from the suspension list, stating that she is not a registered member of the Labour Party, but a supporter of its 2023 presidential candidate, Peter Obi. Take a lesson now to Abure.
The following members of the party have been suspended from the party and all its activities indefinitely and with immediate effect. Number 1, Dr. Alex Oti. 2, Senator Ireti Kingibe. 3, Senator Darlington Nwokocha. 4, Honorable Victor Afam Ogene. 5, Honorable Amobi Oga. 6, Honorable Sheyi Shoumi. By this suspension, these former members of the party will no longer act on behalf of the party. All concerned institutions, including the Nigerian Governors Forum, the National Assembly, INEC, and the security agencies, amongst others, are to take note.
Well, that's actually Obiora Ifo, the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party now. That's the faction of the Labour Party loyal to Julius Abure. Now, in response to the action of that action now by the Abure faction, the other faction led by Nenadi Usman, which is, of course, the caretaker committee backed by the Abia State Governor Alex Oti, returned fire by announcing that it had opened an investigation on alleged corruption and forgery against Abure. In fact, they went ahead to announce the suspension of Abure as well. Now, Senator Ireti Kingibe was appointed to lead the investigation and recommend appropriate sanctions at the end of the process. The faction also accused Abure of impersonating as the chairman of the party, saying that he has since been removed by the Supreme Court. And in response to his suspension from the party by the Abure faction, Governor Oti has asked the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, to arrest Abure, accusing him of impersonation. In a statement by his media aide, Oti argued that Abure did not have the power to suspend him and 5 others from the party because he was no longer the LP's national chairperson. He also described Abure's action as, quote, an affront on democracy, end of quote. Well, it appears there's no end to this crisis in the Labour Party. Only God knows when this and how this will be resolved. Joining in now to discuss this further is a legal practitioner and political affairs analyst, Libro Soshoma. Also joining us is a political affairs analyst, Charles Ideho. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Libros, let me start with you because you are the lawyer here. Didn't that Supreme Court judgment remove Abure as the national chairman of the party?
It was to decline jurisdiction to that matter, saying that the parties should go and resolve their matter. The Supreme Court did not go into the meat or merit of the case. You remember at the Court of First Instance, the court gave judgment in favor of the Nenadi Usman-led faction.
Yes.
At the Court of Appeal reinstated Abure.
Yes.
And then the Supreme Court lashed out at the Court of Appeal that the Court of Appeal does not even have jurisdiction at all. That the courts, the Federal High Court and the Court of Appeal does not have jurisdiction to look into the matter, not to talk of even making an order. And that so, being a party matter, an internal affair of the party is at best, the best place to resolve their crisis. So the court didn't make an order. So what?
But I thought the court also said Abure's tenure had expired.
I don't remember the court making that pronouncement because the court, if the court had said that the tenure had expired, that would mean the court, making a pronouncement on the matter. The court only said, I think it was the Court of First Instance that said the Abure's tenure had expired. And the Court of Appeal disagreed. But the Supreme Court disagreed with both the Court of First Instance and the Court of Appeal, holding that both court lacked jurisdiction to hear the matter, being an internal affair of the party, that it was the party's prerogative to decide their internal affair. So what now happened was both parties started claiming victory. Because the appeal against the Court of Appeal judgment was against Abure, the moment the court declined jurisdiction, what the OT, Nenadi Usman's faction, said was that that means the judgment that reinstated Abure had been nullified. And so to that extent, judgment, God had given them judgment. While Abure's faction had said, well, since the court had heard that parties should go back and resolve their issue, and the party had met, was it in Anambra, and Abure was re-elected, and that should stay. So that's why both parties are holding on to victory, at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court did not make a definite pronouncement giving either of the party judgment. That was the same thing that happens with the seat of Ayaun in PDP. And so you saw what the PDP now did. The National Working Committee, subject to the neck of the party, had appointed a caretaker secretary.
Charles, why is it difficult to resolve this? Because as it is today, you have Julius Abure acting as he says he's the national chairman of the party. Nenadi Usman says she is the acting chairperson. She is actually leading a caretaker committee. And of course, questions have been raised as to whether those who actually set up that caretaker committee had the power to do so and all of that. But why do you think it's so difficult to resolve this? Why is it difficult for, these key actors to sit down at the table and iron this out?
Okay, first, we must look at all these cases in their merit. Number one, all parties have laws that govern them, all right? So when you have disputes, you resort to your laws, the laws you made for yourself, the laws made by yourself in order for you to self-govern yourself. So that's exactly where they are not referring to those laws. That's the way I see it. Number one, I have looked at all the political parties in Nigeria, and I look at the way they are organized, the way they organize themselves. But you see, you can't remove a national officer of any party without the National Working Committee meeting, either to ratify the person's position or to say the person had, maybe his tenure had expired. And if your tenure has expired, there has to be a national convention through which that you can now elect a new executive. That has not taken place in Labour. So it means that if the National Working Committee has not met and there's no national convention, Abure, by default, remains the national president.
Doesn't it matter that the chairman, the governor, Governor Alex Oti is on the other side, and Peter Obi is as well on the other side. Doesn't that give them that legitimacy to have taken the action they took?
No, it's not. It's not, because you'll be doing something or nothing. As I said, okay, the way parties are structured, you have the National Working Committee, you have the National Executive Committee, then you now have all of them replicated in all the respective states. So each organ has its laws, each organ has its power to dispense. When you want to come up with a new executive, there has to be a national convention. It's explicitly stated. There has to be a national convention through which you can choose all this. But if it has not happened, then you cannot say you are the leader. And one other thing that Abure was fighting, because in a manner of speaking, I can tell you that when Abure, there was a time he had problem with about whether he embezzled money, that he had the SPC problem and all that. When he was set free, I personally, they contacted me, and I remember I arranged a media briefing for him at Marriott Hotel. Sorry for mentioning brand, actually. And I remember all of them, all the cards were laid on the table. You understand? Now, there has not been a national convention organized where they can say, okay, Abure's tenure has expired. That's the case. Now, going to OT and what's his name now? Peter Obi. I also blame Peter Obi. Why I blame him on two fronts. Number one, Peter Obi I think what he did was that he forfeited the goodwill he enjoyed when he has this organic followership that was brought upon him by the obedient movement. What he has done was that it should have transitioned them into Labour Party membership. And that would have shored up the power that, of course, all of them were building Labour Party, number one. Number two, then what Abure was fighting was that there was a clandestine move, allegedly so, that they were all making all these things a regional body, regional party. If you look at all the names you'll be having there, all of them suspended, they're all Igbo. Abure said, no, this is a national party. You receive all your votes from everywhere. Now, because we had a governor from the southeast, does not make the party a southeast party. So let's remain where we are. Let us have this spread across Nigeria. Because if we continue to defer to OT, because it's the only party that the only governor that the party had been able to put in their kitty, then there will be a problem. What happened to ABGA? ABGA being a regional party, will also happen to Labour Party.
Governor Oti has called for, has asked the Inspector General of Police to arrest Abure for impersonation. Do you expect? Do you see the Inspector General of Police acting on this?
It is not the business of the Inspector General of Police to dabble into a family matter of a Labour Party until it is decided whether Abure remains the national chairman of the party or not. It is not in the mouth of anybody to say, go and arrest him. It's like two people fighting, and then one says, police arrest him. The other one says, police arrest him. He's the thief. The other one says, no, he's the thief. Police are. So I think at best, I would have expected, after every election, every party that is what is sought sets up what they call reconciliation committee. We have seen the PDP, do that consistently, despite the fact that their house is in tatters presently. Even APC has their own also. During Buhari, we saw President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who then was the leader of the party. We saw him heading a reconciliation committee of the party. And even though at that time some of us felt that he also need reconciliation to the party, but they set up something to attempt to reconcile members. In the same vein, we also saw after this last election.
Yeah.
No, after the primaries. After the APC primaries.
Yes, after the APC primaries, that's true.
Yes, where we saw President Bola Ahmed Tinubu
going round
all the members, Moshibanjo and co, trying to reconcile, because party is about numbers. We've also seen PDP, despite the consistent backlash from Wike, we saw Atiku's attempt to reconcile, Wike with the party. So we have seen them consistently meet at the National Working Committee level. So one would have expected that Peter Obi, being the presidential candidate, of the party, who enjoys the goodwill of the party, who the party, gave ticket to, at the dying minute, Abure might have his nuances and shenanigans, because if you remember, there were a lot of accusations against Abure of selling tickets to the highest bidder. Even Olumide Akpata in the Edo State election at some point accused Abure of trying to, swat or scuttle his effort. Olumide practically said that the enemy within was worse than the enemy outside. So in all of this, Abure might have its problems, but as a party flag bearer, who also, except he doesn't want to use the party again, because now I don't even know whether Peter Obi is in Labour or is in SDP or is in PDP. One would have expected that he would be able to, bring everybody together, sit at the round table, and then, table all their grievances and, we didn't see all of this, back and forth. with the party. So I expect that they should have been more mature than this. But with the accusation, counter-accusation against Abure also, high-handed and strong, believing that he labored for the party, he built it, he worked for Peter Obi, and that it is now, because in his word, let me use his word, it is now time to enjoy. Because he likes using that word. I will send you to Abuja to go and be enjoying, make your money. So that it is now time to enjoy, that he feels that they want to push him aside. So certainly he will fight back. And so, if now we have not even seen the gain of the 2023 general election, the ruling party is already talking about 2027. One would have expected that for a candidate who was not the president, who had opposition from even within his party, to be able to win the election, now that he's a president, you will need to work twice as hard as you worked earlier on to be able to defeat him. But having all of this kind of division within your party, when others are already consolidated, governors are decamping into APC, and then these are the same people you hope to, go into an election with. I do not think that if they continue like this, they will go into, they will even be able to fit candidates for election, because
we're not even sure they're going to run on that platform anyway.
It is because the local government election conducted by Lesotho, all his supporters for that local government election, he moved them to a different political party. So already the party is factionalized at that level. So what's the guarantee that, they will remain on that platform? So at this rate, it is only a ruling party that usually have this kind of faction because there is so much food to share. Not a party in opposition that came, a distant third in a national election. Whose members are even already decamping.
Okay. But let me come to you, Charles. But is it a wise decision to suspend your only governor from your party indefinitely? I mean, the only governor that they have, that's Alex Oti. They are suspending him indefinitely, no matter what. Should that have happened?
Well, there's a yes, there's a no. Okay, maybe let me start with the no. The no, it may seem to be. I mean, to me, it seems to be a foolhardy action, because you have made gains and you have just one out of 18 parties. I mean, that other ones, the SDP, they don't have any governor. It's only APC, PDP, and then Labour, and then NPP in Kano. So for me, to seem a foolhardy action to so do. But that's the no. The yes there is that the action may seem to be, as I said, foolhardy, but I think is geared towards reenacting or letting them know that party supremacy is above all. Because you are a governor, you are a minister, you can't be bigger than the party. Maybe that's the message you want to send to them. No matter how highly placed you are still subject to the supremacy of that party. So if you are a governor, as Governor Oti is in Abia State, and then they find you to be, whatever you are doing, to be culpable or to be maybe some other things that are improper to the general welfare and general health of the party, well, the party has to come straight with the stick, to wave the big stick. So I think that's the message that the Abure-led faction is trying to send to everybody. Look, the party supremacy is what is paramount. Whether you have won election, doesn't matter. If you are not, you don't subject yourself to the whims in quote whims and caprices of the party, then again, we have to weed you out. It's either you shape up or you ship out. So that's why I say it's a yes, and I hope I'll be able to answer the yes and the no.
Yes, I get your point. We're out of time now, but let me ask you this, Libros, very quickly, Libros. Just hold on. Let me ask you this very quickly, Libros. Do you think this crisis will be resolved the moment INEC recognizes one faction over the other?
I doubt. I very much doubt. But before I quickly answer your question, I agree with Charles. The question you will ask yourself, if Abure does not see the governor and the lawmakers as members of his party, suspending them is almost like seeing people who are not, members of your party, just weeding them up. Because if he wants to if he believes that he's the alpha and omega of the party, and these people are not kowtowing to his whims and caprices, suspending them already means they were out. So it was just like taking a decision that has been a done deal. But I do not see this crisis being resolved because even if INEC recognizes one faction against the other, they are still going to go to court. But that is why, before INEC can even recognize any faction, there must be an attempt at calling for a NEC meeting or a congress of the party. And so, how do you call a congress of a party when it is obvious that almost all the state executive members are in one side, apart from a few? And that is why you still have, the National Working Committee of the party, the executive in one area, supporting Abure, and some persons also on one side as caretaker committee. So they are not saying that they are the executive, but they are caretakers. So it will be difficult for them to even call a congress of the party and elect, officials that INEC will recognize. So that's why I said I do not even see them having candidates in the election if they do not sit down to either agree to agree and agree to disagree.
Charles, what do you think?
Well, I also think, but I think Labour, thankfully all of us will use the computer. But there's a time you use computer, what they call the thing is hanging. I mean, it's lagging. So there are two options are left for you: is to allow it to finish lagging and then to come back, or you reboot. So I think Labour needs to reboot because the way it is now, the system is hanging. They need to reboot so that they can breathe fresh. We can give it fresh breath. Because the way it is now, Labour cannot, with the way they can't go to 2027 election because it's factionalized. Labour is maybe is suffering what they call stroke, and there's no way to have strength to muster to go into the election. So what they need to do is to plan for election maybe 2031, because the way they are now, there's no way Labour can even win even a councillor seat anywhere in this country. So what they need to do is that they have to shut down the system, in a manner of speaking, reboot it and begin to rebuild the game for future elections. They should just forget 2027 because it's going to be a waste of time, waste of resources, and then they are also going to be disgraced in the election because they may not do well at all with the way it is now.
Well, it's a pity. What a way to waste the enormous goodwill they got from 2023 election. It's a huge pity. It's a huge pity. Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for coming on the program. I appreciate it. Libros Oshoma, thanks a lot for your time. Charles Ideho, thanks a lot. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Don't go away.
Opinions are free. Facts are sacred. But truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Now, Nigeria is set to begin exporting locally manufactured military equipment before the end of 2025, marking a major step towards a major step forward, I should say, in the country's push for self-reliance. The nation's defense minister, Mohammed Abubakar, made the announcement during the 2025 ministerial press briefing in Abuja, where he revealed that the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria is partnering with the Ajaokuta Steel Company to boost local arms production. The minister added that by December 20th now, the firms are expected to be in full production, paving the way for Nigeria's first ever military exports. According to the minister, the move is expected to enhance Nigeria's national security capabilities while generating foreign exchange through arms exports. Take a listen to some of what he said.
The President and Commander-in-Chief have signed the DICOM bill, which I believe you are all conversant with. As of today, 53 companies have an MOU with us. Most of them are at different stages of construction in their factories. I think about 10 of them have started production, including some light drones, MRAPs, PCs, and many other equipments, helmets, safety vests, and others. So 10 have started producing.
Now, the minister also addressed a wide range of national security issues, including the use of drones by terrorist groups, progress in ongoing counterinsurgency efforts, and intelligence on emerging extremist factions. Responding to concerns about reports that terrorists are deploying sophisticated weapons, Abubakar dismissed claims that insurgents possess more advanced technology firearms now than the Nigerian Armed Forces. Well, joining me to discuss this further is a former director at the Department of State Services, Mike Ejiofor, who joins us from Abuja. Thank you very much for coming on the show. How good a news is this that we plan to start exporting arms to other countries?
Well, I don't know whether it's good or bad news because we have a lot of security challenges. We're contending with sophisticated arms from bandits and terrorists with kidnappers. We've not been able to check our local challenges. Then we'll start talking of exportation of arms. I expected that the minister would now say that we will give more arms or sell more arms instead of importing. Sell more arms to our security agencies like the police, the army. We'll export for what? We will have a lot of problems on ground. It doesn't make sense to me.
Now, something else the minister said, especially, he said something that actually caught my attention and quite worrying, confirming that terrorists now use drones, armed drones, to carry out operations in this country. How worrying is that?
Well, it's worrying, but if you look at the classes of drones, over commercial drones, you have the ones they use for all these cameras and to cover events, and there are classes of drones. But maybe the one is talking of unarmed vehicles. I don't think they have access to that. They could use this thing to carry out surveillance in the area they want to operate to know whether the military is there. But I don't think that's a major problem for us. We have our own capabilities in terms of drones, and we can go ahead and put them to effective use. The minister also in his brief did mention the issue of having a lot of drones, and that I think a question was raised whether he has whether the people have this issue of arms. I don't think that is anything to worry about. The only difference is that these people, they put their own without regards, but our security forces also use their own with standard operational procedures, while the bandits just use their own. I think that's the difference. It's not that they're better equipped than ourselves.
Do we have a situation at the moment where our military lack, say, enough arms now to prosecute the various security operations they are carrying out at the moment?
It's not that we are lacking arms. It's not that we are lacking sufficient arms, but it can never be enough. You will not compare this with that we are importing arms. I don't think we have sufficient arms in terms of what we are to use. So that's why I'm against exportation, we need to get self-sufficient first. It's like a proverb in my place: you don't carry an elephant on your head and be using leg to dig cricket. We have a lot of security challenges. Our police, the civil defense, you can see the type of arms they use. So we should get them properly equipped and deploy them into all these areas of problem before we start. What are we talking of exportation of arms when we don't have sufficient arms in our hands?
I get your point. Finally, let me ask you, I mean, there are concerns over some new terrorist groups that are springing up. We've had Lakrawa, there's this other one that sprang up not quite long ago. How concerning is this?
Well, it's a concerning, but I can tell you that the intelligence agency is, that's the SSS, is profiling them, and even before it came to public knowledge, the SSS have the knowledge of all what they are doing and profiling them, and they're working together with other security agencies to bring the activities to a halt before it develops to more serious problems, like you have the issue of Boko Haram and the other terrorist groups. Before they metamorphose into a bigger problem, I think we should be able to change them this time around.
And what would be your reaction to, I mean, you saw the way the minister reacted, when some lawmakers in the course of their debate in plenary at the National Assembly came out to say that terrorists were using more sophisticated weapons in our military and that they were better armed. Of course, the minister came out to debunk that is certainly not the case. What's your take on that debate?
Why it appears that they are more sophisticated, there's no way they can be more sophisticated in terms of arms than our security forces, who have an area view power over them. I'm not aware that any of them has a helicopter, or even talking of jets. So the arms they are using, what I can explain why people are apprehensive that they are more armed is that they don't use standard operational procedure. Unlike our military forces, they use standard operational, they have rules of engagement, but these people don't have. How do you explain that you just come to a community, open fire, kill the people, burn their houses? The military cannot do that. And if they do that, you see the international community talking of abuse of human rights. But now that they are the people burning houses, killing people, nobody's talking of human rights abuses. So that's the difference. I don't think they're better equipped or better armed than our security people.
And really would have been surprising that, a terrorist group would be more powerful in terms of equipment now than the army or the military of an entire country. But thank you very much, Mr. Ejiofor, for coming on the program and sharing your thoughts with us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Don't go away.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Now, President Bola Tinubu has issued a ban on the importation of foreign goods by ministries, departments, and agencies on goods or services available in the country without a waiver from the Bureau of Public Procurement. The new policy, dubbed the Renewed Hope Nigeria First policy, aims at strengthening the domestic economy, promoting local content, and reducing Nigeria's dependence on imports. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who revealed this at the last Federal Executive Council meeting, says the policy targeted at prioritizing the use of local goods and services
will create more jobs and help boost the economy if properly implemented by all tiers of government. Take a listen to him.
Proposal by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on what he calls the Renewed Hope Nigeria First policy, meaning that Nigeria is going to be at the center going forward of all business activities relating to this country. If there are any businesses to be done by anybody, the priority will be Nigerian first. If you have any local content, there is no reason for you to go outside this country to import. Now, this is in the form of an executive bill that will soon be issued by Mr. President. Already, Council has approved a set of those proposals, which I'm going to read to you, and the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation has been directed to prepare an executive order to be issued by Mr. President.
Now, the Nigeria First policy is built around optimizing local production, reducing the pressure on foreign exchange, and attracting investments that will strengthen the country's economic base. The minister further assured that Nigerian industries will now be prioritized in procurement decisions, and in cases where local suppliers fall short, contracts will be structured to build domestic capacity instead of depending on intermediaries who make profits at the expense of local manufacturers. Well, joining me now to discuss this further is economist and the CEO of Timeline Consult Limited, Shaibu Idris. He joins us from Lagos. Thank you very much for coming on the program. How important is this policy? What's your take on it?
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. Thank God today is Friday. Number one, I think in general, I will say it's a laudable thinking, laudable attempt, laudable steps in the right direction, trying to, to patronize made in Nigeria goods. When you look at it on a straight line basis. Is this the first time that Nigeria is having this policy? The answer is no. During the military dispensation as far back as 1976, 77, and post-Shehu Shagari era, Nigerian government under the military, gave directives that cars that are assembled in Nigeria are the only cars that were allowed to be bought by civil servants, either if they are taking loans or if the government is buying them as what we call the tools of trade, meaning for official assignment. Very few individuals or civil servants, for example, the then Mr. President or head of state was allowed, for example, to use a Mercedes-Benz other than a Peugeot or a Volkswagen made in Nigeria car, or Steyr, or the cars made from Leyland. So going back to what we used to have 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I think is a step in the right direction. However, the snag with the current policy is, you ask yourself, do we have a car assembly plant in Nigeria? The last time I checked is no.
But we have car manufacturing companies like Innocent, and there are quite a number of them that are coming up.
No, you are saying they are coming up. I'm saying I have not known of any assembly plant. The manufacturing plant in the eastern part of the country by the gentleman who makes the Innocent cars is a laudable initiative that must be supported at all cost. I give you an example. When the members of the National Assembly were bought Prado Jeep or Toyota Highlander as official cars, some of us did come out vociferously to say, why should we be taking money outside the country? Why should we be giving employment to Japanese instead of giving employment to Nigerians? When Mr. President decided to buy a brand new cascade bulletproof car, why did he buy, a Japanese car or a German-made car instead of a Nigerian car when he could have gotten it custom built by, innocent. So the point I'm trying to make is when you limit the conversation to car assembly or cars as in tool of trade, you will say there are none or even there are few. However, you fast forward, what are the things that government buy today? Why are they being bought outside the country? Let's look at buildings. If you are compelled to buy cement in Nigeria, in any case, no one is allowed to import cement. The processes of getting a license to import cement, you will be worse off if you import the cement. So we have it in abundance so you can buy locally. But what are the other concomitant features of construction, sites? Metals, iron that you use, iron rod. Do we have a manufacturing plant in Nigeria that can produce iron rod? No, we don't have. You look at the basic foods, milk. Today, if you want to buy powdered milk, if you want to buy even tissue paper, you want to buy toothpick, tell me which factory you can go to buy toothpick or powdered milk or some of these items. Now, the fact that, a window for people to take advantage of the policy was open, it makes also the policy a bit counterproductive. Instead of saying one needs to get a waiver from the Bureau of Public Procurement.
But let's not forget, this is for government agencies, ministries and departments.
I agree, but who is the largest buyer? Who is the largest buyer of these items? It's government. We will have 350 something members of the House of Representatives, another 109 members of the Senate, totaling 500 or thereabout, or 400 and something. That is 400 cars. Which organization? Is it MTN, Aradel, Shell, or Dangote that can buy 400 brand new Jeeps? Hell no, they won't be able to buy. It's not that they don't have the money, but they don't have the need. And if they have the need, they are efficiently run, managed organizations, so they wouldn't do that. So the point we are making is, of course, the policy was made to guide government. Even the government, not all governments.
Yes, I was going to ask you that does this apply to state governments? Because, look, this is obviously for federal government agencies.
Of course, no. It's not applicable to state or local government.
So don't you think state governments too should probably key into this and make their own pronouncements along this line?
Well, unfortunately, the hands of Mr. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Jagaba, is tied, or they are tied, because he can only cajole and appeal to state governors to key into this policy. Because we are running this democracy